Deadpool might seem like a funny guy who also finds a way to come out on top because he's so ridiculous, but even he has his moments when he is humiliated by the other heroes around him. Some of them very serious ones too. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda McKnight, aka VanBex13, and today we're counting down the top 10 superheroes who humbled Deadpool. Which hero would you like to see fight against Wade? Number 10. Captain America. Sure, this Captain America wasn't exactly the hero of the story, as we'd later find out that Captain America wasn't really himself, but rather another twisted version that was created by Kobik, fragments of the cosmic cube who fused together to create a sentient being, a little girl. This was due to a misunderstanding where Kobik thought that Captain America would be a better hero if he was basically indoctrinated into Hydra. She hadn't intended necessarily to make him evil, she was just kind of being manipulated by Red Skull, who she actually thought was like a good person, but she was wrong, and she thought Hydra was good. At the same time, Deadpool didn't know any of this and just thought Cap was Cap. He decided to ally himself with Captain America during the events leading up to Secret Empire, but would eventually come to realize that Captain America, aka Hydra Supreme, had really been using and manipulating him. Probably the worst and most humbling of all on our list. This made Deadpool question virtually all of his actions during this period. Not like a punch you in the face humble, but definitely a form of humbling. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, I encourage you, yes you, to click that like button. It really does help us out here at the channel and it feeds the algorithm. Praise be the algorithm. Number 9. Agent Coulson. So he didn't really get beaten by Agent Coulson, but I think considering the fallout of Secret Empire for Deadpool in retrospect, he would have been humbled by, I guess, his actions against Phil Coulson. And sure, Phil Coulson isn't always a hero in the comics. Let's not forget when he ended up being kind of one of the big bads during the 2021 Heroes Reborn event. That was honestly weird for me to read, but mostly I'd say that Phil Coulson tends to be a hero, like in general. And in this case, he really was trying to be a hero. He had intel on Captain America and believed that Stephen had been compromised, and he was right. He was hoping to get this info out so, something could be done before it was too late, but it turned out that Rogers was onto him and sent Deadpool to take out Coulson. While Deadpool was ultimately successful in his mission, it wasn't easy for him to follow this order as he didn't really even know why Captain America needed Phil dead. Later on, he'd learned the truth about Captain America's allegiance when he became Hydra Supreme, and how this Captain America wasn't the same one that we'd always known. This would make Deadpool question everything he'd done during this era, including of course this initial mission for Cap, where it all started, baby. Number 8. Cyclops. Cyclops ended up humbling Deadpool when he refused his offer to become an X-Men member. However, Cyclops would kind of agree to offer Deadpool a place on the team temporarily, but Deadpool would later learn that this was actually only done so that the X-Men could keep an eye on Wade, as basically they didn't trust him. Ouch. After he learned that, after everything he went through to try to help them, he was basically just like, you know what, I don't need you guys. Oh. Poor Wade. So he's left out of the X-Men club. Number 7. Hulk. This one at least isn't too embarrassing for Deadpool, considering he literally wanted to be beaten here. Hulk ended up fighting Deadpool in the 2008 Deadpool series in issue number 38 and 39, and Deadpool actually wanted Hulk to smash him. No, not smash him like that. Although for Deadpool saying this to Hulk, I mean, you maybe never know which version he meant. If he asked you to smash him, you'd be like, wait. Even for Hulk, I feel like I could see the two of them together. Is that weird? I don't know. Deadpool basically wanted to be destroyed, so he told the Hulk that the only way to stop bombs from going off was to beat him up. Deadpool claimed he had a transmitter surgically implanted inside him that would use the electrical current of his body to power itself, sending signals to a new nuke every hour to detonate. Of course, none of this was true. He was just hoping the Hulk would take him out permanently. Unfortunately for Deadpool, despite intentionally losing the fight, his healing factor still went out here. Number 6. Squirrel Girl. I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? They don't call Doreen Green unbeatable for nothing. This fight went down mainly as the result of a miscommunication between the two. Deadpool thought that Squirrel Girl wasn't registered under the Superhuman Registration Act. However, before they could have a discussion and clear things up between them, first, they, of course, had to fight. Normally, Deadpool is a lot better at fighting than he was here, but as he sometimes does, and as many of us do, he got distracted. He became obsessed with Squirrel Girl's appearance and became fixated on guessing her superhero name and the reason why she appeared to be a woman-squirrel hybrid. His distracted state gave Doreen the advantage she needed to beat him. And then afterwards, they of course were able to talk it out and resolve the miscommunication. Sometimes you gotta swing a few punches first and then sit down and have a little chat. Number 5. Daredevil. Daredevil is not a hero I personally would want to go up against, especially if I was Wade at this time and I was like basically a shapeshifter who looks super questionable. Deadpool underestimated Daredevil and was quickly put in his place. Despite attempting to explain himself, Daredevil still decided to restrain Deadpool, leaving him defeated and bound in the middle of the street at the end of their fight. Number 4. Thor. Deadpool used to love dressing up as Thor, but while people say imitation is the best form of flattery, let's keep in mind that this is a Midgardian saying and not an Asgardian one. I don't even know what the sayings or idioms of Asgard are. Eternal life is like an apple? Is that one of them? It would make sense. So of course when Thor came across Deadpool impersonating him, he was not too pleased. And look, Deadpool is a pretty gifted fighter and also has that healing factor on lock, but he's not nearly, not even close to as powerful as Thor is. Not by a long shot. So of course, no one was surprised when Thor made pretty quick work of Deadpool with his hammer Mjolnir. Number 3 is Spider-Man. Spider-Man even beat Deadpool at his own games. Deadpool sometimes operates on a different level than most other superheroes, or rather anti-heroes in the Marvel Universe. There have been times when he fights simply with the power of his mind. And I don't mean that he's telekinetic or is a psionic powerhouse or anything like that. I mean with his ability to break the fourth wall and escape into a fantasy land, which often manifests somehow in reality. I don't know how that works, but it's a thing. This is what happened when Deadpool fought Spider-Man in the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series. Here, Deadpool was attempting to get a list from Spider-Man that would be extremely valuable if put in the wrong hands, making Deadpool a bunch of money. And as a mercenary, we all know Deadpool does love his money. The two fought and Deadpool ended up using the power of his imagination to try and defeat Spider-Man. But fortunately, Spider-Man, master of quips and puns that he is, was able to turn the tables on Deadpool, hitting him with a book of morals, literally, that made Deadpool reflect on his origins and feel real feelings, which ultimately cost him the fight. Although he refused to be taken into fury by Spider-Man, Deadpool did admit that their fight was going to make him go home and cry himself to sleep. So there is that. Number 2. Wolverine and Sabertooth. Okay, so Sabertooth isn't really a superhero, but sometimes in the comics he has actually been good. Did you know that? Like during Axis, when many heroes and villains had their alignments reversed. Sabertooth was one of the characters whose alignment stayed permanently reversed after the events of Axis. It wouldn't be till later, after he had sacrificed himself in order to save his son, that he would get turned back to his original alignment and become evil again. In the version of the story I'm talking about though, Sabertooth was not really a good guy. Because yeah, we're talking about X-Men Origins Wolverine, the film. Yeah, that film. But I still wanted to include Sabertooth in this point because as I said, he isn't always so bad, and in this fight, he and Wolverine are actually forced to team up to take down Wade Wilson, who becomes the strangest version of Deadpool we've ever seen on screen as Weapon 11. As Weapon 11, Wade had no mouth to make quips with, and instead of having his 2 katanas, he had 2 swords just in his arms. He made for a very weird opponent who also was super hard to defeat, surprisingly, but with Wolverine and Sabertooth both coming out against him, Logan was able to find a window to take him down. Number 1. Cable. Well, these two have had a ton of goofy fights too, and also have had a ton of honestly sweet moments in the comics. This was actually a pretty serious fight that happened between them. It went down during Civil War I. This all happened as a result of Deadpool and Cable being on different sides of this first Civil War. Deadpool ended up on the side of pro-registration and went around trying to round up heroes who refused to register. However, then he came across Cable, who attempted to try and talk Wade out of making this mistake. Deadpool, however, of course, would not listen to reason, and the two were forced to fight one another. Deadpool fired darts at Cable, but Cable's shield caused them to rebound back, making them hit Deadpool, so yeah, Deadpool ended up losing this one. And also, he was kinda on the losing side of that Civil War, to be honest with you. Deadpool is bad luck when it comes to like, which side are you gonna choose? That's about it. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.